All right, hello. So we finally made it to the fourth tier of the deepest YouTube iceberg. And this is the first tier where we get to actually spooky, creepy YouTube content. This tier is titled the Enthusiast tier. Its description reads, people with an interest in the weird and obscure part of YouTube, who sometimes watch horror channels and generally watch creepy and weird videos in their spare time. So, in other words, if you're on YouTube's horror side at all, you probably know what the vast majority of videos on this tier are. But, if you're not, then yeah, here's some new information. And also, I'm sure you probably haven't heard of all of them. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the first entry. Henry Eats slash Ben Wheel. Ben Wheel is a surreal horror animator and one of the most well known ones on YouTube. His most viewed video, with over 5.5 million views, is Henry Eats. And you may be wondering, well, what happens in Henry Eats? And I'll tell you, it's really simple. There's like this weird deformed statue head, which is next to a conveyor belt, and the conveyor belt is moving these tiki looking things on it, and the head is biting the heads off of the tikis. And then it zooms out to reveal that this was all taking place within the eye of this weird zombie creature with a deformed mouth that looks pretty normal for a British person, who I presume is Henry based on the fact that he's in the thumbnail. And then this faucet attaches itself to Henry's head and begins leaking fluids out into a coffee cup. So then a trapdoor in the wall opens, and a humanoid with a creepy claymation mask and, well, not claymation, but a clay-looking mask and cigarettes for teeth crawls out from the trapdoor and injects a straw horizontally into the mug to begin drinking the fluids from it. And then the next day, as the creature's doing this again, another creature, which is like this armless humanoid with like a elongated, really elongated jaw, comes into the house and bites the head off of both the clay cigarette teeth creature and off of Henry. And yeah, that's Henry Eats. So as you can tell, when I said surreal, I meant surreal. The animations on his channel are, for the most part, nonsensical, like Plastic Drone Chamber, which is just, it's literally just a bunch of colors and shapes plastered on screen in complete and utter nonsense. Her Lovely Fears, which is this one human head on legs that's kind of like distorted, and it's really scared of the word Dambien, and which like corrupts the world. um or the Birth Tab, which has a voice and kind of has a plot to it about this woman trying to find a website that lets you see your birth, but the way she describes it is super illogical and just dreamlike, and it makes you wonder if you're even listening correctly, because she talks about like finding islands between the letters of words, and that's the most logical thing I think she says in the video. It's that being said, most of his videos are, of course, this complete nonsense, but some of them do have more of a meaning to them. So, like for example, there's a video called Decoration, which is a metaphor for cancer, um, in a very gross out, realistic way. Bump Classic, which I think is showing about how like violence, like even violence used to as a form of vengeance against those who have caused violence, is just ends up with more pain. Um, and his most recent video, okay, most recent that wasn't just a compilation of people reacting to Henry Eats, is a video titled Top 5 Animation Containers. And I just do not know what this video is. It opens with like what's a parody of Watch Mojo talking about the quote unquote top 5 animation containers, never explaining what that is and explaining each of these 5 entries with barely any logical rhyme or reason. It doesn't explain what they are, and it's never made clear what they're talking about. Like Trapbox, it just says it showed up on an internet forum, and then this like a block, this like weird creature that can hold blocks was like a toy for kids. I do not understand what this video is talking about, and then halfway through it shifts into something completely different with like the one of the animation containers, Murdy, running from all the other animation containers who are all like throwing the things they contained inside of her gross fleshy mouth. I think it's supposed to be a metaphor for a word that rhymes with crepe. But I can't tell because it is just so just just so unnatural, so unreal. Um, the really sad thing about his channel, though, is that these videos clearly take a very long time to make, so there's only one every couple years or so. The channel's been on YouTube since pretty much the dawn of YouTube. It's been up since 2010, and it only has 17 videos uploaded. And one of them is just a trailer for another video, and another is just a compilation of people reacting to Henry Eats. So in reality, it has 15 videos. But and he hasn't uploaded in like 2 years, so that is very unfortunate, but I am very excited to see him upload again. Agamemnon Counterpart. This video begins with the text: In the year 2571, a video cassette tape was found in a pile of rubble on the ruins of a certain blue planet. What you are about to witness will not be the contents of the aforementioned cassette. This is an entirely different recording. Which feels like it'd be more in line with some sort of comedy sketch than a creepy YouTube video. But regardless, the meat of the video plays, which is like this. I could best describe it as either an alien civilization attempting to recreate a kids show, or a distant, like buried memory of a kids show that's been almost completely forgotten with time. It has all these like bright, colorful characters, letters popping up as though they're teaching something, with like question marks and like bright, happy backgrounds, but it's all super distorted and nothing really has any meaning. Oh, and the mute background music is also this like bright, happy, bouncy synth music thing. Of course, the main thing that makes the video scary is this very realistic sounding screaming in the background. And there was a rumor that the screaming came from a real life bad stuff case, but no, it didn't. It was taken from a movie just to make the video feel more creepy. As for what the hell the title has anything to do with the video, or I guess how the title has anything to do with the video, either A, it doesn't, or B, it's referencing the meteor Agamemnon and not the Greek king, because that mentions on a blue planet at the beginning, but I think they just named it that to be artsy, if I'm being honest. Period search slash the search algorithm loophole. So this is one where it's better if I just directly show you rather than getting footage for it. So this is on a private browser, and as you can see, I've searched for a period, and we get a bunch of videos titled full stop punctuation. Most of them are memes, but they have like some unnerving stuff, like this weird, gross decaying banana, creepy dolphin head. A lot of horror videos that either have been on the iceberg or will be on the iceberg. Weird, gross things like this dancing chicken. Videos with thumbnails of actual gore videos, but obviously the videos themselves don't contain gore. So you see what we're getting at. It's basically, most. I'm not going to click on any of them because of fear of copyright and possibly not safe for work content that might get my video age restricted. But one thing I've clicked on enough of these to know they're almost always just weird, distressing memes, like basically the equivalent of void memes, essentially. Um, Now why this happens? Why this happens, I'm not entirely sure. However, I believe this has to do with like the way YouTube accounts for symbols. So when you search for the period, it's somehow getting that like conflated with this full stop punctuation symbol. Um Again, I don't know the exact reasoning, and it used to be before this whole like phenomenon, this rabbit hole became mainstream, and YouTube worked to censor it. It used to be you'd type in a period, and a bunch of just symbols and emojis and seemingly meaningless patterns would come after it. This is not the case anymore. They've censored it out, so you just search a period, you just get a period. But they have they being YouTube have only done the bare minimum. And let me try something. Oh, okay, so they got rid of this one. Hold on, give me a minute. Okay, so yes, they've mostly cleared out the search for periods and common English symbols, but for other more foreign symbols like this O with a slash through it, which I believe is like some Greek symbol, um, starts off fairly normal, and then it devolves into like this. So yeah, just a bunch of horror videos, and again, the content isn't really any different from well, from what happens if you search for a full stop punctuation. It's just horror videos that have been clipped, or it's either they're one of two things. They're either a clip from another horror video, they're a shit post, or they're both, and they're like some edgy void, some edgy void meme shit post, something like that. And the explanation for this is basically, if you were to search this like 5 years ago or so, I remember searching for these uh for this full stop punctuation thing, and it was just ordinary memes. But what I think happened was there was like a meme in a foreign language, I believe Spanish, where people started realizing this exploit and started purposely flooding it with these void memes, which were created for the purpose of just being creepy, mildly creepy memes. Yeah. And in a lot of videos where people talk about this weird loophole in the algorithm, they talk about like how, oh, this is dangerous. There could be illegal content hidden if you search this. No, it's probably there's probably not. It's just a creepy. It's just a mildly unnerving meme trend. I highly doubt there's any actual illegal content in here because it YouTube would get regardless of how hard it is for YouTube's algorithm to track videos down, uh, and through what they hide in. Basically, there's the theories that like YouTube cannot track videos down if you use symbols like these because YouTube's algorithm isn't programmed to recognize them as symbols. But I look, regardless of how much you make us what am I saying? Regardless of how hidden a video is to the algorithm, it's going to be able to detect if you include like an actual unalivement in your video. So yeah, there's no illegal content hidden in here, and if there is, it's very rare, very unlikely, and it's about as common as it would be in normal YouTube videos. Fake anti-piracy screens. This was an edgy meme that originated in late 2020, which is based off of actual anti-piracy screens. Which, for those who are out of the know, an anti-piracy screen is something that a video game will employ that's basically programmed to specifically appear in pirated versions of the game, though it can be falsely triggered in some cases. And usually, this will just be something simple like, "Hey, don't pirate our fucking game. Give us money, please. We worked hard on this." But you do occasionally get left with something that's more creepy, like Donkey Kong's anti-piracy screen, which has like it's just this really unnerving game over screen of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong in jail with low lighting. The rumored Pokemon Fire Red anti-piracy screen, which I'm not entirely sure if it's fake or not. Of like one of the person that's manning the SSN telling you to that if you like the game, you either need to buy it or unalive. The Earthbound and Spyro 3 anti-piracy screens, both of which just completely screw up the game. Like they just make it basically unplayable and delete all your progress right before you make it to the final boss. Um FNAF's anti-piracy screen, which jump scares you. Real great work there, deterring the people buying a horror game. And probably the creepiest of them all, Cuphead's anti-piracy screen, which just makes the audio in the die houses super just uncanny, like demonic screeching. And there were many more like anti-piracy screens that weren't particularly creepy in and of themselves, but if you're a kid playing a game late at night, not even having the knowledge, or at least not the full knowledge of what you did was wrong, and then feeling this game almost come to life in a sense and call you out on your actions, it's pretty uncanny. So in 2020, this guy created a fake Mario Party anti-piracy screen with like creepy audio in the background and all the characters in jail with the text "Piracy is no party." And from there, the floodgates were open, and people created fake anti-piracy screen after fake anti-piracy screen, with them ranging from something that seems reasonable and like it might actually exist in the game to just full-on creepypasta shit. Oh, and it should be noted that the original Mario Party Piracy is No Party thing that was created as an actual hoax to like try and convince people it was real, but the rest were created with like the full knowledge of, hey, we're just doing this for shits and giggles. Alan Tutorial. In the early days of YouTube, there were a lot of tutorial videos teaching people how to do things that were either really useless or really simplistic and could very easily be done. And so, a YouTube channel, Alan Tutorial, was created to parody them in a sort of horror comedy esque series, which is notable for being one of the first unreality games on YouTube. And no, it's not an ARG. There was no audience interaction elements. It's not an ARG unless there's an actual game involved, which there was not here. Alan's videos would start off with fairly simplistically, at least for his channel. So these videos would be tutorials on completely useless things like how to leak on a piece of paper, how to make mail into a square, how to fill tiny bin with dirt, how to crush Dr. Pepper can with slates of wood, and how to find or reveal wood tutorial. And in addition to the goal of these tutorials being nonsensical, the tutorials themselves were not much better, with him just devolving into complete rambling and stumbling over his words and nothing really making sense. Sometimes he wouldn't even do what the tutorial was originally intended to do. The series eventually starts becoming darker and developing into an actual story. As in one of the episodes, while he's making the tutorial, someone starts banging on the door to his room and he starts like yelling at them, being like, "Hey, just wait until I'm finished with this tutorial." And in the immediate next video, how to escape a dark room and find light, he's like locked in the attic of the house and is trying to escape. By the end of the video, he manages to escape and get onto the roof, but then he sees someone walking into the house carrying like a garbage bag and quickly runs back inside, but then appears to be free in the next video. Then, about halfway through the series, shit gets real. He gets kicked out of his house and tries to perform a tutorial to get back in, and from there he's just left homeless trying to survive, with half his tutorials being about survival things and like how to get water, and the other half of the tutorials are just him trying to find whatever he can in the streets or in the forest and try and make a tutorial out of it. Eventually, he ends up being kidnapped and taken into this white room where he's given various supplies to create tutorials with and is given some dollar bills for creating the tutorials. But then he decides that he hates tutorials and switches to becoming a news channel and reading off sections of the news from the newspaper. And he does this for a few videos before reverting back to tutorials. And as he does these videos, he gets more and more dollars slipped through the crack in the door and creates like a little dollar person to be with him. But as these videos progress, the tutorials start causing him to do more dangerous things, like his captors give him like glasses of paint and force him to drink them. And the room becomes filled more with like blood and other bodily fluids, and it just becomes really grainy and gross. And by the last few videos in the series, it appears that the wherever he's being locked away in is completely abandoned, as he just claws his way through the wall and breaks out in the final video. NYPD Ghost Car Chase. This is a video which was taken from a TV show and uploaded to YouTube. And no, I don't know what TV show it is. It was too hard to research. There's most of the people talking about this are only talking about the actual contents of the clip, so forgive me for doing the same. I mean, if you know what the TV show is, then feel free to comment, I guess. But what this clip shows is it's a recording of a police car chase from the 1980s. So, and it occurred at night. So as you can imagine, it's pretty much impossible to see almost anything except for the car's taillights. The chase goes pretty normally for like the first 2 minutes or so, although the announcer of the TV show tries to make it seem like it's weird because the taillights are rapidly jiggling back and forth, almost as though the driver was possessed, in his own words, as though, it's almost like he's in a car chase and he wants to get the zigzag to get the police off his trail or something. Anyway, the actual spooky paranormal part doesn't happen until the end of the video, where the car that's being chased drives off the road and its taillights pop out of view. The police drives after them, and then they just are blocked by this giant chain link fence in their way, with the car that they were chasing being nowhere to be seen. And this gives the illusion that the car just disappeared, and thus has prompted it to be labeled as some form of paranormal footage. Though it hasn't been proven, the most logical scientific explanation for what happened is it's a fence. A fence stands no chance against a massive multi-ton steel machine driving toward it at full force. So yeah, or at full speed, I guess. So yeah, the force of the car was probably able to simply push the really weak in comparison fence out of the way. And then this happened fast enough that the moment the car was moved away from the fence snapped back into position via momentum, and you can actually see the fence vibrating in the last couple seconds of the video. Though it is a counterpoint to this would be the fact that the vibrating could be due to the police car coming to a sudden stop. But I don't think this disproves this theory at all. I think the car simply driving through the fence is the most likely explanation. Pilot Red Sun. Pilot Red Sun is a YouTuber who has owned many different YouTube accounts over the years. He originally started uploading YouTube videos under the account Pokey Remix Studio, a YouTube channel where he would upload remixes of various songs from the Pokemon games. An account that would go mostly abandoned around the beginning of the 2010s, which was when he began work from a second account, which was not on YouTube, called Bittertooth, where he began working on original D&B and breakcore songs. However, he felt like these songs were just too generic and like they weren't really expressing his true artistic merit. So he mostly abandoned that account and started working on on a new YouTube channel, Pilot Red Sun. This was where he began uploading videos that were these short, very crude animations that are basically like scribbles. And one comment describes it best as I forgot what it exactly said, but it said you can tell that these are really crude, poorly made scribbles, and yet you can also tell he put a lot of effort into making these scribbles animate and making them making them have personality. It's really, really weirdly interesting. And most of the videos are just short, I want to say sketches, but it's really hard to interpret what's going on in the majority of them, as his voice is so distorted. It's just so hard to understand what he's saying or what the true meaning of any of these videos are, if they even have meaning. Some videos that are of note are Guard Thief, which is a one of the first one of the first major popular Garfield parodies on YouTube, which is something that's become super popular recently, and or at least more recently, and is still parodied and talked about to this day. His mascot series, which is about various mascots of food brands such as the Pringles guy or the hamburger helper hand, and just really creepy distorted versions of them that say disturbing things in an attempt to get you to buy their products. And Grinch's Ultimatum, which practically has a fan base of its own, as there are a bunch of parodies of it. And it's probably his most detailed video, as it has like an actual story where Santa comes up to the Grinch and is like, you can be a Grinch or you can be a saint. And then Grinch just becomes a Grinch without any real choice in the matter, writes about how he's become a monster, and then tries to like dance in a park to make people like him, and no one does. Which, that might be some sort of really deep commentary. I don't know. Oh, and this one video called Preschool Bully, which is really notable because I swear the dialogue in that video is directly sampled by It's a Bully and Baldi's Basics, or the very least inspired that. Like, it is practically identical. In recent years, though, Pilot Red Sun has been mostly abandoned in favor of a new YouTube channel, Pilot Red Sky, which focuses more on music. As people liked his animations on Pilot Red Sun for the animations themselves. People also really liked the background music, which led to him creating extended versions of them in an album called Achievement, which is classified under the genre drum and synth. I had no idea that genre existed, but it's the clearest answer I can get as to what genre it is. And this led to him creating more songs in this genre in the form of singles and EPs on Red Pilot Sky, which is mostly what he works on to this day. A few other things that should be noted about his channel before I move on to the next entry are the fact that despite Red Pilot Sky being his main, or Pilot Red Sky being his main channel as of now, none of his previous channels have been abandoned. Almost all of them still get an upload occasionally. Another thing to note is that A lot of fans of both Pokey Remix Studio and Bittertooth don't even know that don't even know that he is Red Pilot or Pilot Red Sun. Damn it, I want to say Red Pilot Sun so bad. And lastly, he's worked on two shorts that have been on Adult Swim Smalls. 11BX-1371 Wright. So the aforementioned cluster of numbers and letters that I previously mentioned is the title of a viral YouTube horror video. Um, I need to stop saying YouTube. This is getting really redundant every time I say that. But it was a viral horror video created by the channel Parker Wright. The video shows Parker dressed as a plague doctor being filmed in a grayscale camera and holding his hand out while a bunch of like numbers and letters flash on screen and beeping noises play in the background. The video is littered with codes both in the numbers and in the Morse code in the background, and these codes translates to a sentence that is an anagram for something bad about the president that people should not do, and and a phrase like something along the lines of "stab the heart of the eagle," which also seems to be echoing a similar sentiment. This made people worried that this was actually some sort of cursed video or message to a group that wanted to do bad thing to president. And yeah, the creator Parker Wright confirmed that it was not, and it was just a weird art project slash ARG. Since that video, he's made several more videos, some of which he claims are follow-ups, while others are just their own one-off projects. Um, it seems like there might be some sort of deeper meaning to these videos, but there isn't really any one that's bothered trying to decode them, as most of the popularity fell off after that initial video, and it's not even complete anyway. Like, there's not a complete code throughout the videos. And also, for what it's worth, there appears to be like the videos, the new videos appear to mostly be in the same style as the original one. But they do include a second character that's separate from the Plague Doctor, who is another like creepy demon person. But she has thigh highs on. I don't know. I just thought that that was worth mentioning. For I find it too weird not to mention. Weird Minecraft animations. Yet another very vaguely titled entry relating to Minecraft. So, okay, I'm gonna be honest, this could be referring to any number of things. When I first saw this entry, my immediate first thought was Futuristic Hub, but that is a channel that is its own separate entry later on the iceberg. So, I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but I have a few guesses. I think it's most likely referring to the ElsaGate videos that range from like modded versions of Minecraft to animations about Minecraft to everything in between, and they're really no different from ordinary ElsaGate content, just they occur in Minecraft. There's like this one specific version of it where it's like 3 or more doors that each have a popular kids character, and then the YouTuber will go into them and something related to that character happens. And then there's another version where another common format of these videos where it's like noob versus pro versus hacker versus god. Um Self-explanatory. So yeah, pretty much just Minecraft ElsaGate content. Granted, because it is limited to Minecraft, it's usually not quite as fetishy as ordinary ElsaGate content, but still pretty bad a lot of the time. Treats for Beasts. This is a YouTube channel that's most well known for two videos: Who Wants to Gnaw on Human Bones and Beasts. Who Wants to Gnaw on Human Bones is this video of him dancing around in this costume that looks like a combination between Patrick Star, Marshmallow, and a member of a certain group, which has 3 letters in its name that I don't want to say. And he just kind of dances around while this distorted music plays in the background that, if you listen closely, sounds like a heavily distorted version of someone saying, "Who wants to gnaw on human bones?" Beasts, on the other hand, is this music video that shows all these green creatures meant to be representative of humans, each stating what their role in society is, generally in a satirical way that pokes fun at that role, and then ends with like the world going brown and basically it being like a warning for climate change. The rest of the videos on his channel can basically be separated into 2 eras and then further separated into 2 categories. The first era of his content basically covers everything prior to around 5 years ago. And yeah, he doesn't upload very frequently. And these videos can be separated into either shorts, like short animations, or short shit posts. The animations usually will be something that's fairly crude, and it will have this one line, which is usually something cryptic like "Mom ordered ants for my birthday," or "Men with small hands carry very little treats to give to little girls with the sharpest little teeth." And this line is repeated by a creepy synthesized voice over and over while the animation plays on loop. And maybe sometimes it will intensify a little. Sometimes these have some sort of deeper meaning, like they're about religion being bad, or about child abuse, or about sitcoms being bad. Weird choice with the others. And other times they're just nonsense, as far as I can tell. Um, and the other videos on this channel are the other videos from this era are shit posts. Like, for example, there's this one video where it's like supposed to be an advertisement for Alaska, but he's doing it in like a funny voice and it doesn't make any sense. There's one where the video starts and then it immediately cuts to credits for the rest of the video. One where he's singing like a Christian song, but he's just saying generic Christian words over and over and over. Um, but yeah, these ones are mostly just more comedic, and are a lot less dark than the other videos on his channel, and a lot less creepy too. Then we reach the new era of his videos where the videos can either be divided into movies, or like, well, short movies, or albums. So yes, he's created three albums. He's created Hymns for Him too, and Sagittarius, Sin Nomini. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I haven't listened to any of these, but I did see like an entry talking about this guy in another YouTube iceberg. It was by Dylan the Night Owl, and he said that they're all just basically him just being like, "Ooh, I'm singing a Christian song, but I'm not actually Christian, haha," and just that for like an hour. As for the short movies, he's created three of them. The first one being simply titled Treats for Beasts, which it starts off with like a bunch of these like sort of comedic skits and very disturbing surreal skits, and but it's mainly built around like the primary like plot of the video is this weird fleshlight in a sock talking to his dad. And while it starts off like with like these actually kind of disturbing these all these disturbing sketches and like the father and son talking to each other, it quickly just evolves into Treats for Beasts using the father as a way to rant about Christianity, pretty much. Like, I mean, it's not even like him metaphorically, like in his previous videos, talking about why Christianity is bad. It's literally just him rambling for like 30 minutes about why Christianity is bad. And then his second short movie is titled "The Beast is Dead," which is again, it starts off with a lot of surreal, various different sketches. Like the first one, even like is sort of a parody of his original Treats for Beasts. But then it turns into like this meeting where like a bunch of people with scat fetishes are all like meeting up with each other, and they're basically in like this group where they praise scat fetishes as though it's like this amazing thing. And one of like the guys breaks up with his wife after she doesn't want to do scat fetishes. And so I'm watching this, I'm thinking, "Oh, maybe this is sort of commentary about how like being too deep into like a sexual fetish can cause problems in other areas of your life, and like the problems that could cause." And then one of the guys goes against like the leader of the group, who starts referring to poop as, he starts referring to it in a more godlike manner. And I remembered what channel I was watching. And yeah, it's all just a metaphor for Christianity. Do you get it, guys? It's funny because he compared Christianity to poop. Do you get it? Do you get it? Are you laughing now? Okay, in all seriousness, these last videos probably bug me a little more than the others just because of how long I had been watching them for at the time. I do still like his channel overall, but the last movie he's created is Perfect Little Dream, and this one's a lot more akin to sort of a conventional movie. Don't get me wrong; it still has like the signature Treats for Beasts surrealness of it, but it has like more of an actually structured plot, and a lot less of message about religion bad and or society bad or something like that. Conspiracy videos. So this is a rather vague and general entry, but it's referring to videos that talk about and discuss conspiracy theories. And I'm sure almost everyone who has watched at least one iceberg video has at the very least heard of Wendigoon and his massive conspiracy theory iceberg series, which is like over 9 hours long, and I would recommend you watch it. It's really good. But unfortunately, people like Wendigoon, who share conspiracy theory videos, who share conspiracy theories in a safer way and don't really promote like extremist ideology with them, are in the minority of people. And most of the people who promote conspiracy theories are people who are, either using it to promote an extremist ideology or are trying to basically make a profit off of it by preying off of, mentally ill people who are like paranoid or are just or people who are like older and don't understand technology as much, or people who are deep into a religion and are more likely to believe in magic related stuff. And basically just preying off of like people in those sorts of vulnerable positions by promoting them with these theories. And this is in no small part thanks to YouTube's shitty algorithm. Markiplier had a series where he would try to see where YouTube sent its new viewers. And he basically does it like every year. I don't know why I said had. He still does it, but he basically was able to go from in a few videos from like someone using just metalworking and machines to conspiracy theories about like ancient high-tech civilizations. And Jack's Films made a video where he talked about it was a video where he was basically trying to get from one topic of video and then use the suggested videos to get to another. And one of these was to connect the Bible to the Emoji Movie. And he goes from like just ordinary readings of the Bible very quickly into like giants are real conspiracy theories and bullshit like that. And in another video where he links, in another part of that video, he links North Korea to the Emoji Movie. This came out in 2017. But he very quickly goes from just videos of people playing shooter games to North Korea and like people making like weird videos about North Korea and conspiracy theories about it and its military and whatnot. Thankfully, YouTube's algorithm has taken some measures to sort of prevent this sort of conspiracy rabbit hole and prevent people from being sucked down it by whenever a video will talk about something controversial, they'll basically put a link to the Wikipedia article beneath it. So like if you click on a video about flat earth, even if the video is debunking flat earth, it will still link the Wikipedia article for that beneath it. So, which I'm not the best thing, but it's an improvement. And as far as I can tell, I believe that the algorithms also just don't promote conspiracy theory content as hard as they used to. They still do it, don't get me wrong, but yeah. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say this now. Most conspiracy theories are the result of people looking too deeply into patterns that just happen to be coincidences. And this whole patterns, us mistaking patterns for things that they're not, probably be a recurring theme throughout the rest of this iceberg. The Wyoming incident. This is both a creepypasta and one of the first ARGs on the internet. Kind of. So it's most well known for the video that started it, which claims to be like this news hijacking, and with it taking place in Wyoming, it'd be pretty hard for people to prove that it was fake, especially in like 2006. The video show starts off with like a normal news broadcast and then gets interrupted by an error by like error signs, these staticky disembodied heads floating around, and cryptic messages that all seem to be saying like, "Oh, human existence is bad. We're going to enlighten you," or something along those lines. And from there, this sort of spiraled off into this ARG. The only problem was that it was being one of the first ARGs, it was not very well organized at all. Like, it was kind of run by a bunch of different people who were not in good contact with each other. No one really know who was deciding on what, and they were also making the story up on the fly. They really had nothing planned out, and the whole ARG just kind of fell apart within a few years. And it lost most of its fan base because the majority of it was just being consumed with just buckets of lore that barely related to the original at all. The majority of the ARG had just become just people reading lore pretty much, and because of this, almost all of the fan base quit, and eventually the creators came clean and were like, "Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing," and the ARG kind of just disappeared. But the original video that started the Wyoming incident still remains iconic to this day. Daddy05. Daddy05 was a terrible vlogging slash prank channel whose main form of content was pulling pranks on his kids, but specifically on his kid Cody. The reason for this being because Cody gave the biggest reaction out of all of his kids, as he straight up admitted himself. And this is because Cody has a emotional disorder called oppositional defiant disorder, which is when someone is naturally angrier and more defiant towards their parents. And as you could imagine, that led to him having a bigger reaction when he got pranked, which in turn made him get more upset the more he got pranked. And so it led to this perpetual spiral. And this spiral kept making Daddy05 do increasingly more cruel and sadistic things to his children, specifically Cody. And the pranks eventually just went from actual anything that could be remotely considered a prank, even terrible bad ones, to just him straight up bullying his children. Eventually, the videos escalated to the point of both parents. I am not in any way excusing the mom, by the way. I want to make that clear. She was in on it. Just because her name wasn't in the channels, she was in on this too. The two of them basically got to the point of yelling at their children and encouraging physical violence amongst them. And it all culminated in this one video where they made this massive mess in Cody's room, blamed him for it, and yelled at him just at the top of their lungs. And Cody is just visibly in horrific distress throughout the whole video. This video was rightfully called out by Philip DeFranco, and then proceeded to get called out by several other YouTubers following this, and it eventually even received mainstream attention. And this ultimately led to a court battle between, so for context, Cody and one of their other kids are actually stepkids that they adopted. And so this led to a custody battle between the biological mother of the kids and Daddy05. And this battle eventually led to the kids being returned to the biological mother and Daddy05 losing custody of them for on account of abuse. However, he still got to keep the other three kids. In the wake of this court case, Daddy05's YouTube channel was rightfully terminated by YouTube, but they just created another one called Family05 where they continued making more of their shitty, abusive content. Thankfully, YouTube also destroyed this one. And then the three kids that Daddy05 still has custody of created their own channel called Martin's Family, which has been up for like 5 years now. And this one appears to be run solely by the kids and does not have any of the shitty, abusive content that the other videos had. And thankfully, the horrible parents barely appear in it. And from a few glances at the channel, it seems like the older brother acts as more of the parental role now. Okay, on to some more lighthearted entries. Body of a pig. So this is a video which shows these guys exploring like this supposedly paranormal location, and the person who edits the video is saying that they noticed some spooky stuff in the video footage after the fact. And what the spooky stuff is a creepy voice in the background saying, "I have the body of a pig," followed by an inaudible grunt. And then at the very end of the video, it shows this like demon that appears at the back of this tunnel that they're filming, which strangely does not actually look that much like a pig, at least in my opinion. To be honest, I've never understood why people thought this video was so scary. It's very clearly not real, just based on the sheer fact that the person that made this YouTube channel mostly makes fictional content and parodies of horror content, and the video didn't really have anything particularly scary in it. It's just the demon always looked so generic. I never understood why anyone was scared of that. And I have the body of a pig. Really, is that the scariest phrase you could think of? But surprisingly, I was surprised to discover that this video actually was a lot more popular than I thought. As there's apparently a Trevor Henderson monster based off of this line. Trevor Henderson, if you don't know, he's the guy who made Siren Head and a bunch of other spooky monsters on his Instagram. Like he draws like paintings of, and there's also a reference to this in the game Faith the Unholy Trinity. So that's pretty cool. WPKEPKW, which Scare Theater in the video I watched on this referred to as WPKEPKW, so that's what I'll be referring to it as, just because it's shorter. This video is essentially a poor man's Mariana Mordengard Glezigorv. It's pretty much the exact same story, where there's this YouTube video that whenever you search for it, there's only a very small chance that it will appear. Headaches and you'll be cursed and you'll have nausea and stuff. The only major it's video will flash on your screen every now and then. And as for what the actual video itself entailed, it's it's just this really distorted face with distorted music in the background. And me and a lot of other people have said like this is not just me. A lot of people in the comment sections of both WP KW and Scare Theater's video debunking it all say that the face looks like a really distorted Rick Astley. And I've also heard some people say it looks like other people like Bob Ross or the angry Austrian painter, but the overwhelming majority of people say that it looks like Rick Astley. And that makes me genuinely wonder if this video was a troll video or not. Because I mean, the story is already so just blatantly unbelievable and incredibly similar to MMM. So so I honestly think this might have just been like a troll pasta and no one even really realized it. Cat Ghost. Cat Ghost is an ARG which separates itself from other ARGs through the way it's presented, as it's an animated series, and one which, aside from having dark themes and a few freaky moments here and there, I would say barely even classifies as a horror ARG. In fact, there are certain points where I would just outright describe it as like a comedy, at least partially. And not that that's a bad thing. I think that's actually good. You know, variety is a good thing. The series features three main characters: Elon, the titular cat, and Nara, the titular ghost, both of whom were witches burned at the stake hundreds of years ago and are reincarnated in this sort of purgatory. And the third character is Gideon, a hedgehog who is the judge that sentenced them to their unalivements and is now also in this purgatory with them. And he also sounds like Moist Critical. In fact, there's actually an episode where there's a clone of Gideon, and they actually got Moist Critical to voice the clone. Another thing that's really unique about this series is that along with each animated episode that comes out, there is a link in the description that takes you to a game that you can download. With these games either being something that will give you hints at the lore and like the greater story of the series if you manage to reach a win condition, or it's sort of just like an interactive screen where you can just like look for various different lore hints without there being any win or lose condition. One of the best things about this series is that they have an episode where through the game in the previous episode you could basically be able to call the creators of the series and ask them questions, and then in the following episode, all of the characters were sort of transported to this void where they would actually answer the questions sent in. I'm not gonna say too much more about it, and because I don't want to spoil it. It's a pretty good series, and even if you don't really understand a lot of the deeper story, you can still follow the surface level narrative fairly easily. Pencil Face slash SCAD Shorts. So, SCAD Shorts is a self-described monthly series of short films by Danny Dorves, which is not true because their last upload was 14 years ago. So, yeah, it was monthly for like 16 months at least. Um, but their most well-known video is their second to last, which is Pencil Face. It's a video where there's like this little girl and she finds this pencil that has a really creepy face on it, and she draws a cake and the cake comes to life and she eats it, and then she draws a kite and the kite comes to life and like she flies it. And then she tries to draw a lollipop with like a spiral and ends up drawing a portal into the void instead and getting sucked into it and presumably being unalived. Some of the comments on this video are like saying, "Oh, this is like a metaphor because like the pencil earned her trust originally, so and then it like trapped her, and it's actually a metaphor for child abuse." Guys, it's a short about a pencil with an evil face. I think they just took the concept of a magic pencil that makes things come to life and just wanted to make a slightly dark twist to that, slash make a creepy face on a pencil. I don't think it's that deep. As for the other videos on their channel, yeah, they're just not that interesting. I mean, they're mildly weird. Like one of them has a giant guy in a diaper acting as Cupid. One of them has like paint being splattered on this woman. One of them has like this woman dancing in front of like a CGI mountain as some sort of like religious commentary, I guess. Um, but yeah, most of it is just not that interesting in comparison to the rest of the things on this tier, so I'm not not really going to go in depth on it. Hanging Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz. So this is a rumor that's been around pretty much as long as The Wizard of Oz has been available on like VHS tapes. But the rumor sort of excelled in popularity when YouTube came out, since it became even easier to, create fake edits of The Wizard of Oz that make this myth more believable. And in specific, it was kickstarted by a video titled "A Certain Word That Starts with S and Ends with L." Munchkin, and from there it just kind of spiral. It's just kind of led to a bunch of these videos about this topic appearing on YouTube. As for what the rumor specifically refers to, in the scene where Dorothy and the Scarecrow just meet up with the Tin Man, as they're dancing away in the background, you can see what this sort of like black blob, and it's pretty hard to make out, especially back in the day when TVs weren't as high definition, and thus some people started believing that it was a hanging munchkin. When in reality it was just a bird, as they filmed outdoors and there were birds on set. But the YouTubers who propagated this myth you basically edited the blob to make it look like an actual hanging munchkin. Though if you look closely, you can see that there are errors. Like for a few frames, it will cut back to the bird, or you can briefly see the bird's wings moving alongside, just floating off on the side of the munchkin. And also you can use basic logic to determine, hey, they probably the actors and actresses would probably have pointed out, the hanging body back there. That seems like a thing that they would have probably stopped filming to notice. The Dawn is Your Enemy. So we all know about the programming block Adult Swim and how it shares the same channel as the kids programming block Cartoon Network. Well, to stop kids from watching Adult Swim and staying up past their bedtimes, they would often insert terrifying bumpers in between the programs. And the most well-known of these is The Dawn is Your Enemy. This was a bumper that would play at the very end of the night if you managed to make it through the entirety of the Adult Swim block, as one last little terrifying punch for those kids. Um, it just simply displayed this image, which I have on screen: a bunch of flowers in the foreground, a grassy field with trees, and this little sun looking over the hills with a face, and the sky is sort of ill-formed face with these two eyes looking in opposite directions as one another, and the phrase "the dawn is your enemy" in the center of the screen. Overall, it kind of looks like the album cover of either a psychedelic album or a drone metal album, and I'm not sure which. Accompanying the picture is these industrial sounding noises. It's like industrial ambience in the background. Sounds like drills turning on, metal banging, loud, wavy noises. And when combined with the picture, it makes it really unnerving. Even if this bumper was never uploaded to YouTube, it would have definitely given a ton of kids trauma. But it was uploaded on YouTube, so even more kids were able to see the advertisement, or the bumper, I guess, after it stopped airing in around 2010, including me, who, like, I was, not old enough to have been able to even watch Cartoon Network at the time that that advertisement was still airing. And yeah, I later learned about it through YouTube. And yeah, I will say it did actually unnerve me. There's also a creepypasta written about it, about how there's like an extended version where the ambience goes on for longer and like the sun will wink at the end of it. I found this version, and I'm not entirely, like, obviously someone recreated it. I'm not sure if this is what the entry is referring to, but I felt like I'd mention it just in case. Also, Adult Swim made like a sort of happier version of it where it like has a balloon and it plays like a happy birthday, called The Dawn is Your Frenemy, as like a 10-year anniversary thing. Also, just thought I'd mention that. Yelling Creature. This video is only 6 seconds, so I'll just play it.
No! No!
Yeah, for whatever reason, YouTube decided, probably due to its really short runtime, that this would just be the horror video it would recommend to everyone. Like, I swear, whenever you search any creepy videos, this thing always pops back up in your suggestions. And what's weird is that the channel that uploaded, Rob Herman, Almost all of his videos have nothing to do with it. This video would almost be just a weird outlier amongst his channel if it weren't for a few other videos that do relate to it, but probably only do so because of the success of the original. And again, these videos are short, so I'm gonna play them now. There's Yelling Creature Pumpkin, or sorry, Yelling Pumpkin and Yelling Creature Santa.
Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. No! No!
There are two other videos related to the Yelling Creature on his channel, but they're just the Yelling Creature 10-minute loop and a song called Yelling Creature No Harm, which is basically just a completely unrelated techno song that just happens to use the Yelling Creature for the thumbnail and at the beginning of the song, mostly just as a way of attracting views. Chip Chan. Chip Chan is a woman who lives in South Korea that has been live streaming her life since 2007. And she was initially discovered by 4chan, hence the name, who began to start watching her due to the weird nature of her actions, as she locks herself in a room pretty much all the time, only rarely leaving to go get groceries. And she also falls asleep at just seemingly random points and in uncomfortable positions. The reason that she does this is rather sad. She believes that a corrupt police officer is holding her hostage and forcing her to stay in that room, and that he has a chip that he's using to track her, hence the other part of her name. And it's very likely that this belief is the result of mental disorders or mental distress. And unfortunately, South Korea does not have a good record with dealing with mental health well, and so she's gone without much aid from anyone other than her family, who, to my knowledge, have tried to help her but haven't gotten far. Sad Satan. There's a YouTube channel called Obscure Horror Corner. They're a gaming channel, and I think you can make a wild guess about what games they play. In 2015, they would play a game that pretty much no one had ever heard of prior to this, called Sad Satan, in 5 parts, though the 4th part has now since been deleted, but re-uploads of it are easy to find. People took an interest in the game, not really because of the actual gameplay. In fact, it's a rather simplistic walking simulator of someone just walking through these staticky grayscale hallways, and then at the very end of the game, there's like a person that chases them. There are some other things that happen throughout it, but for the most part, it's just walking. The horror content actually comes through the rather cheap images and sound that plays when you play the game. Various images of child predators, unalivers, disturbing artwork, images of like this prince who has like deer horns and has like an entire hallway with them just pinned up against the wall, and weirdly enough, statues of like the Lady of Justice, but not blindfolded. And in the background, you can hear audio, which a lot of it is audio that was said by actual child predators, people talking about child predators, audio from Charles Manson, and weirdly enough, the Hong Kong 97 theme backwards, which, if you don't know what Hong Kong 97 is, that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself. And also, of course, the song Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin backwards. Which, if you don't know, a bunch of people claim that, like, oh, if you reverse so and so song, you actually get satanic messages. And the one of the most famous of these is this satanic message that's supposedly hidden in Stairway to Heaven, where if you reverse it, you get the line, "There was a little tool shed where he made us suffer, sad Satan." It sounds nothing like that, but that's what people claim. To most people, the game either comes across as just someone trying to be extremely edgy, or just trying to send some sort of message about, like, oh, how bad and corrupt society is because justice is unblind and these people exist, blah 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 blah. But with the disturbing nature of the images that were flashed on screen, people obviously started taking interest. They were unable to find the game for themselves and thus started asking, "Hey, Obscure Horror Corner, where'd you find the game?" And he revealed that he got it from an anonymous source via a deep web link. And shortly after this, someone by the name of Gary Graves claimed that this version of Sad Satan wasn't the real version, and he released the true version, with said true version containing actual images of gore and even an image of Chris Pratt. So, needless to say, do not look for that version. I mean, preferably don't look for any version of it. But so this started like this massive controversy, which because obviously with the massive controversy, the people started like theorizing that Obscure Horror Corner was in on it somehow, and he started like receiving a lot of hate for that. Gary Graves was later arrested for possession of Chris Pratt. Later, Reddit, people on Reddit who wanted to like see the gore images of the game and experience it, but just not have the Chris Pratt in it, created a version of the game that still had the gore images, but not Chris Pratt. And as you could imagine, this whole situation was like very controversial, especially for Obscure Horror Corners, who was kind of at the center of it. And Obscure Horror Corners has not uploaded any videos since the final part of Sad Satan. So there's three theories as to the versions of the game and how Obscure Horror Corner relates to them. Well, three main theories, which is that either A, the version that Obscure Horror Corner played is the original version. It didn't contain anything sinister. It was nothing more than just an edgy art project. And then Gary Graves, for whatever sick, twisted reason, stole that version of the game and basically edited in all the crap into it and made the bad version. And then Obscure Horror Corner got caught up in the controversy as a result and just abandoned their channel. The second theory is that Obscure Horror Corner and Gary Graves are both the same person, and he wanted to like spread awareness for the game. He wanted people to like watch his game for whatever reason, and so he made a tame version of it that he could put on YouTube. And then the real version was released shortly after that. And then the third theory is that there's some third party in this. But basically Gary Graves created the original version, which had the gore and Chris Pratt. And then some mysterious third party found that, created a watered down version of it without that, and then sent that to Obscure Horror Corner, who again ended up getting caught in drama because of it and felt bad about like how irresponsible they were with the game and all that, and ultimately left YouTube. Personally, I think the first theory is the most likely, since there just isn't enough evidence that Obscure Horror Corner and Gary Graves are the same person. I mean, yeah, he stopped uploading, but I don't think that's proof that he got arrested. And also, like, why would he do this? This feels like a very convoluted way. Like, why not just post the original? I feel like you could generate enough controversy with just the bad version of it. And the third theory also doesn't make any sense. Why would someone who found the bad version of the game create a watered down version just to give it attention? Like, what is the point of that? That just feels weird. I think the first theory is probably the most likely. Moving on to a more optimistic topic, Tyler's last words. I promise this is more optimistic. So the original title of this video was Tyler's last words before he offed himself. And the video shows this man who plays on the guitar and he sings a song about his deceased partner before pointing a GUN to his head, and then the video cuts off. A lot of people were really emotionally moved by the video and by the performance, with there being multiple covers of it on YouTube. However, others were more skeptical because, why would you show the part where he puts the GUN to his head on YouTube for everyone to see? And the title feels like excessive and like, trying to get you to click on it for shock value. And eventually, several years after the video was created, it was proven that the video was in fact fake. The man who created the video was actually a member of the alternative rock band My Fair Fiend. Why the hell he decided to make Tyler's last words, I have genuinely no idea. Like, was he hoping to grow his audience from faking a really serious topic that a lot of people would probably get mad at him about if they knew of? I don't know. But yeah, it's fake. Limbo the Organized Mind. Limbo, also known as Nobody, was a character created by Jim Henson. It was very simplistic in the way it worked compared to other puppets. It was simply two rubber bands used to create eyes, and a third larger rubber band used to create a mouth that were all puppeted, just floating there in like this void, which they would project things onto. Limbo was in a couple shorts. The main one, which I think this entry is referring to because it's the first thing that comes up when you search it on YouTube, is simply titled The Organized Mind. And in the short, Limbo is voiced by Jim Henson himself, who gives him this extremely calm yet simultaneously off putting voice. In the background behind Limbo, they project these images that most of the time just appears as this black void with abstract shapes flying around it. The plot of the short is Limbo is basically trying to show us his mind, which he claims to have organized. And so the void, as he goes through his mind, gets replaced with images of like his family and memories that like an ordinary people would have, that just like flash on the background. But he starts like having these sort of intrusive thoughts of like war and lust and anger just flashing alongside these that he tries to like control against and tries to push back but is unable to. And by the end of the short, he ends up having like a mental breakdown as they all just start crowding through his mind, and he ends up having to leave his mind as it crashes in on itself. At least I think that's what the weird glass shattering noise at the end is supposed to represent. So, for a character in a short as unsettling as that, I think you could probably guess where the next place he'd appear in would be. Sesame Street, of course. The kids are gonna love it. Thankfully, he's a bit tamer in Sesame Street, as he simply floats along a black void and just counts to 10. However, his voice it's the black void is still creepy on its own. His design definitely is also still creepy on its own, and the voice has somehow been made creepier with it now being this distorted, like one voice. One, two, three. Okay, that was a terrible impression. Carl Mayer. Okay, this is another one of these spooky cursed videos, and when you watch it, you're gonna be sick and you're gonna unalive shortly afterward. Well, I watched it and I'm fine. So you may wonder, what does this video entail? The video is a shitty slideshow of pictures of flowers, tunnels, the sky, and clowns that flash on screen and change in color a little. And also this one admittedly pretty spooky image of like these two weird astral twin looking things. And it's set to this creepy music that sounds like children laughing and giggling but distorted. Quite obviously, the background music is the most disturbing thing about the video. And, quite obviously, it was not created by the original video's creator. It was a song created by the Japanese noise music band Carl Mayer. And for those of you that don't know, noise music is like a genre of music that uses sounds in very unconventional and arrhythmic ways. And as a result, it can often sound disturbing to those who don't regularly listen to noise music. And with Carl Mayer being a particularly well known noise music band in Japan, rumors started to circulate about their songs that basically were like, oh, they're cursed, you listen to them, bad things happen, and you eventually unalive. And these rumors ultimately carried over to the video that some Westerner made of their music. And by the way, if you're wondering where the name Carl Mayer comes from, apparently it's like the name of a textile factory, and they tag the blankets they make with it. And the band Carl Mayer originally didn't have a name, and then when they were performing, they came up with a name on spot after seeing a blanket with the Carl Mayer tag. The Slamming Door. The Slamming Door is a YouTube channel that was created to record the main character of the channel's supposed poltergeist problem in his house, as the first video shows a door slamming on its own. And in the following videos, he documents a variety of paranormal activity throughout his house, like dishes being thrown around, other various doors and windows opening and closing, stuff like that. And it's like an unreality game. I mean, he never confirmed this anywhere, but it looks way too scripted to not be. an unreality game of some variety. Not to mention the existence of a final video, which if you were documenting it IRL, why would you put a final video there? It is really professionally well done, though. Hi, I'm Mary Mary. This is an ARG YouTube channel about a girl who's locked inside of a copy of her parents' house, unable to leave, with restocking food, and no access to the internet in a way that lets her interact with other people. She can still use the internet, hence how she's able to publish the videos, but she just can't interact with like the comment sections or anything. And as such, most of the comment sections of the videos on her channel have been disabled. Every night, though, several entities will attack her, each being representative of various mental health struggles. There's this masked woman that appears in the mirrors who represents like loathing of one's appearance. This shadowy figure that represents like regret or guilt or shame or something along those lines. This like cloud of darkness, which I'm not entirely sure what it represents because it kind of does like it's sometimes it's helpful towards Mary and will like help her attack the other monsters, and other times harmful and will make the other monsters like just go into like make her go into a panic mode basically, where all the other monsters just attack her at once. And then there's this woman who covers her face in a vial and looks similar to Mary, but she like glitches around, and she basically just tries to attack Mary and constantly yells like self-hating things at her, and so obviously she's representative of depression. And there's also as the series progresses, these monsters get more and more aggressive. About halfway through, she also discovers this garden that she can access via the closet. That's where it's like safe and none of the monsters will attack her temporarily. And there's also this like woman clothed in white that's trying to like help her escape. I won't really go into more detail about the plot since it's not really. I called it an ARG, but like it is something that you could pretty easily. Like really, the only interactive elements came in towards the very end and were pretty simplistic. So if you want to watch it and like see the ending for yourself, I won't spoil it. 00390. This is a very strange rabbit hole of a YouTube channel. The main like shtick about this channel is that he basically puts whoever's running the channel basically puts on the persona of of someone who kidnaps and eats women. In a lot of the videos, he's either like so in a lot of his videos, he'll be like cooking food and like talking about how the food is like his victims when it's obviously fake. It's obviously just normal food. But then there will be like more disturbing videos which are like clips of audio taken from like various different sources talking about the subject of kidnapping or cannibalism. And and then there's a extremely disturbing set of videos on his channel where he basically drives around at night just spying on like random hookers just out in the street. And in the descriptions of these videos, he'll like compare it to shopping for Indians, and he'll even outright say that he actually kidnapped some of the women. Now, this is obviously very likely false, but it is still disturbing that he's like doing this and filming these women in this way. And it's even more disturbing in the first video of the series, as he features several images of women who were actually kidnapped in real life and flashes them along screen as he's driving. And in addition to this, there's not just like the night video, right? The night videos where he drives at night and watches like these hookers. There's also videos where he just films women in the broad daylight, like with like not he's not he doesn't even try to hide it in some of them. And in the series, I think he's trying to make some sort of like point about how people are okay with like being watched via security cameras and stuff, but will get mad whenever someone gets in their face and films them. Maybe. That's a pretty weird comparison, but I kind of see where he's coming from. The other videos on his channel that don't his whole persona are like a lot of just really weird random content, and there really isn't a whole lot of similarity from one upload to another. Some of his more like particularly disturbing uploads include one titled "Girl Was Too Loud" or "Girl Talked Too Much," which displays a disembodied tongue being hung on a string. Now, thankfully, it is just a cow tongue, but it is implied in the video to be a human tongue, at least with how he describes it. And then there's this video titled "Dressed Girl in the Bath Scared Screams," and this has drawn some suspicion that maybe he is actually a kidnapper, because what this video shows is this girl in a bathtub screaming, and then she just like disappears and it cuts out. Um, and she looks somewhat similar to one of the girls that he flashed in one of the actual kidnap victims that he flashed in some photos in some of his earlier videos. And so some people do believe that this is actually like the girl like that and he kidnapped her. I don't believe this personally, because like the video of the girl in the bathtub, it's pretty blurry. She's far enough away from the camera that's kind of hard to see. And, how hard would it be to just get your friend to like get in the bathroom and scream for a few seconds? And he also, a lot of videos on his channel use footage from sources that did not originate from him. So even if it is real, it's entirely possible. It's the most likely explanation, if it is real, is they stole it from whoever actually made it. And again, I don't think it's real in the first place. There's one video which shows him like carrying an unconscious girl and is supposedly like a tutorial for that. But like it looks pretty fake, and yeah, you can tell it was almost definitely staged. Then there's another video where he is trying to haul a unalived body in a trash bag, and it is so glaringly obvious that it is not real. Like at the beginning of the video, he struggles to pick it up, but then once he actually lifts it off the ground, he just almost immediately throws it over his shoulder. Yeah, it's very clearly fake. It's almost comedically so. Um, they also have videos on their channel that reference and sort of advertise other ARGs, such as I Can Taste the Walls and Meat Sleep, which, by the way, Meat Sleep is later on this iceberg. I'm not sure about I Can Taste the Walls, but Meat Sleep definitely has very similar themes. Um, the creator of the channel also supposedly had a live link page, which would be like linked from various different videos they created. Though obviously I can't access that now, and I don't know what it has on it because Live Leak has shut down. But out of all the videos on their channel, I found three that I would consider to be the most disturbing. The first is one titled "Favorite Song of Beginner Kidnapper Doctor May Be Explicit." As you can tell, they don't speak English as their main language. This video uses a very obscure and pretty disturbing song, which is quite honestly a rabbit hole of its own that I don't even want to get into. It's a song called "The Mechanical Slave" by Blowjob from Tamara, and it has lyrics about like sexual basically like sexual slavery, but they're being sung by this really disturbing distorted voice, which makes them a whole lot creepier than they well, let's be honest, they were already creepy to begin with, but the distorted voice makes them creepier. And then the video that 00390 created of it pairs this up with several images of creepy uncanny sex dolls. And the scariest thing about the video though is the very end, or not the end, the description, as the description links to an article about a doctor who kidnapped a woman and kept her in his basement and did terrible things, which I think you can guess by the context of the video. And the description, along with the video itself, is in a sense mocking him. So yeah, just just a disturbing video all around. The second most disturbing on his channel is this video where this man and two other men who are carrying like a woman, and she appears to be like vomiting or like spitting out some sort of white vomit looking fluid. um and this is another video that people have tried to use as evidence to prove that he is a real life kidnapper. I don't think that's the case, primarily because he steals his content from other people. So even if it is real, it was probably just taken from somewhere. And I don't think it's real. I think it's probably just like a vomit fetish video. People have tried to use like the fact that she looks uncomfortable and also the fact that she kind of looks younger and could potentially be underage to aid in the fact that it might not be that. However, I disagree with this because I mean, she'd probably look uncomfortable regardless of if she liked it or not, and she doesn't look that young. Like, I think she could probably be a young adult. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a disturbing video regardless. But finally the most disturbing video on his channel is this one. Nugamu. So Nugamu is the name of this channel, but the name of one of the main characters in the channel. And it should come up if you search Nugamu. The actual name of the channel is two Japanese kanji, except they translate to literally nothing. If you try to use Google Translate, you'll get either wow, or oh. And this is wrong. Like, people who can actually read Japanese say that it just translates to literally nothing. Now, as for what the channel's content consists of, it consists of a main character, Nugamu, who is a VTuber that uses this model that looks somewhat like a uncanny version of Ken, with like its eyes departed, and the uncanniness is increased as well. Most of the videos are in Japanese, and I can't, understand what they're saying. Some of them have been translated, and in most of the videos, he's basically saying, "I'm behind you. I'm sucking your lifeblood out. I'm going to eat you," and stuff like that. And normally those kind of threats and those like "ooh, look behind you" things in a video are just just make my eyes roll. But I'll admit, with a model this uncanny, it does actually work on me a little. There's also various other characters throughout the series who are also just run down, dilapidated dolls of some variety. And there might be some level of a story going on there. I'm not sure if there's if this is like an actual ARG or just a nonsense art project for nonsense's sake sort of thing. See, so no, what I can say is that a lot of people who do read Japanese have said that a lot of the videos' titles are nonsense, similar to the videos, the channel's name. So even if it is a story, it's definitely very hard to follow. And some people have said that there is some evidence in Nugamu's dialogue that indicates that he might be like the undead spirit of a stillborn baby or something like that. Um, and I've heard someone else. I unfortunately can't link the video in the source like I normally do because I remember hearing about this a year ago at least, and I don't remember what the video was. If someone can help me find that, that'd be helpful. But they said that basically his video is a parody of VTubers and how overly lewd their whole culture is, because a lot of people will say that he in his comment sections will say that he looks super handsome and will draw sexual or lewd fan art of him. And so even though he looks so just objectively uncanny and hideous, and so that could be this could all be just one big attempt to parody. Again, I can't tell for sure.
It's in Japanese.
Lion Maker. He was a Minecraft YouTuber who attempted to use his probably made up depression and other mental struggles as a way of pressuring his underage fans into sending him no pictures. I feel like this entry should have been on the second or third tier, but for some reason it's here. Deeper. Deeper is an ARG YouTube channel which involves several real life missing person cold cases about young women from the Colorado Denver area. Now, I want to say here, a lot of people have said that Deeper, as in the channel runner, is actually the person who kidnapped or unalived these women. I don't think that's the case. Doing this as an edgy thing and are using real life unalivements just to be edgy, pretty much. Because if they were actually just straight up pointing out that they were unalive or on YouTube, their channel probably would have been investigated to at least some extent. That being said, I have no desire to unalive myself, and if I did, no, I didn't. And everything I'm about to say is satire and a joke. And if I'm missing, just keep an eye out if that happens. Okay, with the disclaimers out of the way, yeah, this YouTube channel. To be honest, if it didn't have the whole real world on missing persons cases associated with it, it probably wouldn't be super popular. Because it actually kind of has nothing going for it outside of that. there isn't really any story. The videos are just like some generic, spooky looking footage. The songs in the background are pretty spooky, but they weren't like made by the channel's creator or anything. It's mostly just outsider music anyway. And there are like puzzles in almost every one of the videos, and those are like actually interesting. And there is like a video which I've linked in the description, that basically is like solving every single one of those puzzles, and that part's pretty cool. But like the puzzles don't really answer anything. The ARG like seemingly ended like 3 years ago, and the reason for this, um, in like they basically created like this message that says like that it said something like along the lines of whoever was running the channel was being unalived of cancer. And what me and a lot of other people personally think is that what actually happened was around this time, some ordinary gamers made a video on them and basically said that they might be a real world unaliver. And this drew a bunch of people to their channel calling them that, and the creator of the channel didn't, want to be associated with that anymore, because he didn't want people calling him an unaliver. So he faked the whole cancer thing as a way of terminating the channel and ending it prematurely, because those two things did happen pretty close to each other, so close to beyond the point of it being a potential coincidence. Brian, or as he's called in the section of his channel name, Brian. This is a 3D animator who's created only 7 videos, and with the last one being made 7 years ago, I highly doubt he's going to be making any more anytime soon. These videos are all made in a very similar style to Cool 3D Worlds videos, which makes sense because he is one of the 2 animators from Cool 3D World. To be perfectly honest, I have no idea what, because Cool 3D World is like the first entry on tier 4 of the iceberg. So I have no idea why they didn't swap these two around, since Brian's easily the lesser known channel. And yeah, I'm not really going to talk about it that much, since most of the content on it is pretty similar to what you'd find on Cool 3D World, so I'll just save it for that entry. What I will say about, though, is there's this one video called These Are the Things We Do Here, which is like a bunch of these guys that are dancing as their faces gradually become distorted. And then there's also a video, like all the videos have cryptic titles, and they do have some recurring characters, so some people in the comment sections have suggested that this is all one big metaphor for like the lifespan of the universe or something. But yeah, I'm mostly going to talk about this when I get to the actual Cool 30 World entry on tier 4. Hey guys, I'm an idiot, and I just realized that like the Cool 3D World is the first entry on the 5th tier, because we are currently on the 4th tier. I don't know why I said 4th tier there. I was being really dumb. So just ignore that. Yeah. Kate Yup. Kate Yup is an ASMR channel who specializes in eating seafood. So you may be wondering, well, why, if she's just an ASMR channel, is she all the way on the 4th tier of the iceberg? And to that I have to say, because people think that she's kidnapped. The supposed evidence for her being kidnapped include the fact that she wears a blindfold to obscure her identity, which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a super ridiculous concept to me. Like, she just wants to remain anonymous. She has some bruises on her hands, and in one of there's like, if you listen to the background, you can hear what some people could be whispering, telling her to hurry up and eat faster. And in one of the videos, she like fidgets and taps on this glass bowl. And if you translate the taps to Morse code and then translate that Morse code, you get 4 separate words, which each start with the letters that when added together spell help. So yeah, needless to say, this is a kind of stupid theory. The whole help thing, as I mentioned, goes back to that whole idea of people just finding patterns and mistaking them for having some sort of meaning. I mean, like, really, what's the odds that she just like happened to know Morse code beyond SOS? And not only that, but enough Morse code that she could type out those 4 words and say help in such a convoluted manner. Um, People have also used the fact that she eats like really quote unquote gross foods like octopus in her videos. That mostly just comes off as like people not understanding other cultures and the fact that people do eat octopus in other countries more than anything. So yeah, that's a really stupid piece of evidence. The whispering is also kind of bullshit because the whispering only started occurring after people started theorizing. So if it is real at all, which I doubt in the first place, it's probably just people. It's probably just like her playing into the whole she was kidnapped thing. And if it's not real, it's very likely just people just mistaking random ambient noises for noises that they quite frankly wanted to hear to validate their theories. It's worth noting that she also went missing about 3 years ago, but then came back since 6 months ago, which but only caused the whole suspicions about her to increase. Though, and she's had to like debunk that multiple times. She's like had made multiple videos where she says, "Oh, guys, I'm not kidnapped. Stop." It's another piece of evidence debunking the theory is that, what person would kidnap someone just to make them eat food on YouTube for money? That is the most convoluted way of getting money from a kidnapping imaginable. Like, why on earth would you do that? The only piece of evidence that I think is actually concerning is the bruises on her hands. And I don't think that's concerning because that and some of her teeth that have like gone missing. I don't think that's concerning because she was kidnapped. I think that's concerning because she might potentially have an eating disorder that's and some sort of like self-loathing bodily hatred as well, which when combined would cause her to partake in self-harm and binge eating, with the vomit from the binge eating potentially damaging her teeth. That is something that I think would actually be something that people who are viewers of her should actually worry about. I think the kidnapping thing is bullshit, but I think this theory actually might have some merit, quite unfortunately. Though there is the possibility that we are just reading too much into this, just like the people who make up the whole kidnapping thing. And the missing teeth and bruises are just a coincidence. Who knows? Maybe she just likes wrestling. Where again, just don't go contacting anyone about her. Don't like go harass her or anyone involved in this. It's probably just people making a mountain out of a molehill. The grifter. No, this entry is not actually referring to almost every political YouTuber on the website, but rather is referring to an urban legend that originated from the paranormal export of 4chan. The legend basically states that there's like this spooky lost video and it's cursed, and if you watch it, then you're either going to like get sick and will unalive yourself or found unalived later with a doll somewhere in your house. So yeah, a lot of shit we've already seen before. It didn't really go into a super in-depth description of at least the initial post didn't go into super in-depth description of what the actual video contained, but a creepypasta later came out which expanded upon it and explained that the video had like maggots and unalived bodies and demons possessing people and satanic imagery and all that. Eventually someone on YouTube decided to capitalize on this creepypasta by creating a version of it which was like basically supposed to be the actual video, and they claimed it was the actual video. It simply shows someone walking through this sort of dark house with images of like someone holding a baby and maggots both flashing on screen, and occasionally creepy distorted images of children. And then at the very end of the video, it says like someone escaped from a mental asylum. Most of the footage in the video was taken from like some Italian movie, which is strangely listed as a comedy. And yeah, it's obviously not real. Though people who still believe in the grifter creepypasta say that this video the video was fake and was created to capitalize off of the trend, but the actual creepypasta is real, and the real grifter video is somewhere out there. Ooh, illusion of bias. This is a short film that's shown through what I can best describe as like a slideshow of black and white photographs being zoomed in and out on to give the effect of motion. I mean, there is movement in them, but it's mostly still frames with like little bits of movement. The plot of the short film is that there's this girl who has a brain tumor at a young age, and during the surgery to remove it, she contracts a medical condition where she becomes unable to see her own face and constantly wishes to see her face. Eventually, she has a dream where she's in like this meadow and everything is happy, and like this voice is like telling her, "Hey, you shouldn't like look at your face. You don't want to. You're fine not knowing what it is." And then she bends over this geyser and gets blasted in the face with it, and then wakes up in pain and runs over to the bathroom as she needs to vomit, and when she looks at herself in the mirror, she sees her face first time, and it's hideous and ugly. And it was just a dream, but every night since then, she wakes up now vomiting feces, which, by the way, is a real medical condition, and I wish I didn't know that. But every night since then, she vomits feces as a result of the horror of having seen her true face. And the moral of the story is to be thankful for what you have. Kind of. It really, the creator of the channel admitted he kind of just wanted an excuse to learn to train himself to edit better. Um, but what's really weird about this is that this is like a really out of place upload on the guy who created this video's channel. His name is Mind Seabase. It's mostly like a music channel with some other like another small variety of video in it, but like nothing like actually creepy like the illusion of bias. And what's like for example, the first video immediately after illusion of bias that he uploaded immediately after it is my mom on Family Guy. So so make of that what you will. So before we move on to the next entry, I wanted to correct a little mistake I made in the previous video. In the previous video, if you saw it, you probably saw the part where I just played like a Markiplier gameplay as the background footage while I repeated what I said about Nope.avi. So the reason for this was that there was an entry about Markiplier's error number 53 gameplay, and I did record audio for it, like an audio file for it, but I mixed the audio file up and ended up just putting the Nope.avi audio file in a second time. So I'm gonna play the Markiplier's error number 53 gameplay entry explained right here. Markiplier's error number 53 gameplay. Okay, this is a bit of a weird entry, but Error 53 is a horror game on itch.io. And despite being called Error 53 and very obviously being a horror game and advertised as such, the actual game basically tries to pretend that it's like this ordinary RPG game, and then it becomes spookier as you go on and progress through it. And eventually all of the spooky, all it becomes just a super spooky horror game at the end of it. And drops any of the ploy of it being an RPG. But again, the game is literally advertised as a horror game, so I don't get I don't get the point of that. But so Markiplier made a video where he played through error number 53, and he acted as though he had no idea what was going to happen and as though he was experiencing this game for the first time, but it was very obvious that he knew exactly what was happening. Lasagna Cat / Fatal Farm. Fatal Farm is a small group of filmmakers, and the most successful project that they've made is Lasagna Cat. Lasagna Cat was a series that started in 2008, and it was basically designed to make fun of Garfield and how Jim Davis built up Garfield comics as though they were these amazing masterpieces with commentary on society. The Lasagna Cat videos were all released initially in 2008, and they followed a formula where basically they would first reenact a three-panel Garfield comic in live action form. Then they would show the comic it was based off of, while an audience laugh track and a short ditty played in the background. And then they would have this song, which was like basically they would remix their live action recreation of the comic in with like some song in pop culture that was released around the time the comic was originally created, along with some trippy visuals that were again based off of the visuals from their live action recreation, complete with, and then it would end with the phrase "tribute to Jim Davis" and then the Fatal Farm logo, and then the video would end. Then the channel stopped uploading videos until again in 2008 until 2017 when they suddenly started uploading again. They uploaded a few trailers saying that they were going to release new Lasagna Cat episodes and telling people to call a phone number and say how many sexual partners they've had. And then on February 23rd, 2017, they released just a shit ton of videos. These videos were very similar to the previous Lasagna Cat videos, except now they went from these just like music parodies to just basically short films. They could range from anything from a recreation of a famous movie scene, a story about Odie getting a bag on his head and becoming a celebrity who gets pressured into committing self-gaming and then goes to hell where there's all these distorted versions of John having lotion and other white liquids sprayed on him by a bunch of Japanese men in their underwear. Um, this like 1920s Garfield comic where John is just running in a loop to comment on like the repetitive nature Garfield comics. Even a recreation of Colin's Bear featuring Garfield were all created by this channel as the skits at the ending of their videos, as opposed to just the ordinary old music parodies that they had, music remixes, I guess you could say, that they had in the original videos. But the last video on their channel, and the last video they uploaded, which was it was uploaded the same day as the other videos, but it was sex survey results. This video is 4 hours and 40 minutes long, and most of the video is just like a loop where one of the characters, in the alternating order of John, then Garfield, then Odie, is reading a newspaper. Then someone rings the doorbell. They ask who it is. The person who called the phone number will state their name. Then the character will ask the person who, and the person will respond with how many sexual partners they've had. As the door is opened and a mannequin is displayed, which has a word bubble showing the transcript of what they said, and as the video goes on, these mannequins get more and more distorted. And then it will zoom out and reveal that that was all just a panel in the next character in the cycle. And it repeats like this, with the characters the mannequins becoming more and more distorted, and the sun slowly setting, and just repeats like this for like 4 hours and 35 minutes. But then the video comes to an abrupt change when John Arbuckle answers the door, and he says sexual partners too, to which John, who had answered the door, says John Arbuckle 0. And then it cuts into the short film where the John that answered that knocked on the door is now like a 40-year-old man who's walking across the streets being haunted by these human versions of the mannequins, and he has like this taxidermied cat with him, and then he gets like attacked by this like naked man that's painted to look like Garfield and turns into worms. And then there's like a girl in like what I think is supposed to be like a Catholic school who gives birth to a baby in a toilet full of blood as a cat walks over it, and she chants like about how her life is an endless cycle of suffering. I would like to remind you that all of this was made, the big deep meaning behind all of this is Garfield bad and repetitive. Shit, I don't know how I forgot to mention this in the when I talked about Lasagna Cat initially, but one of the videos on their channel is where they recreate the Garfield comic like normal, and then this guy just rambles on for 1 hour of improv speech about how the comic is just so amazing and is like the meaning to life just for a full hour. That's easily the best video on their channel. The bitter root footage. So this refers to a creepypasta, which is about a guy who gets sold like this tape from a sketchy dude, and the tape has on it like video of this creepy old guy in the woods that's like doing something with like this incubator looking thing, and he also finds like a decapitated head in a bag. And the creator of that creepypasta, to go along with it, created a video, which he purposely slowed down the frame rate of to make it look more authentic. He went and filmed it in like an abandoned military prison in France that was used during World War II. Got like a real incubator as a prop. He didn't film the part with the head though, unfortunately. Um, that would have made it a lot more realistic. But yeah, and it was regarded as being very realistic, so a lot of people believed the creepypasta. And it was also made for the purpose of advertising a novel that the creator of the creepypasta was working on. Temple OS / Terry Davis. Terry Davis was a schizophrenic programmer. And for those of you who don't know, the Bible in the book of Revelations prophesizes that there will one day be a third holy temple that will like be constructed. And Terry Davis, probably due to his schizophrenia, believed that he was the one that was going to construct this third temple, but that it was not going to be a physical temple, but rather a program. So he developed his own programming language called Holy C, and he used that to program an operating system called Temple OS, which he declared would be, when it was completed, would become the most important thing to the Christian faith, more so than the Pope even. The program on its own is very amazing just because of like how well programmed it is for like one guy who is programming in his parents' house in Las Vegas. Obviously, it's still like somewhat finicky, but like it actually runs fairly well. It has like games on it. It has a random word generator, which is basically an AI, I think, that's like trained using the words of the Bible. And Terry believed that this word generation programming was God directly communicating to him, along with like a random drawing program called the God Doodler. Also, I might be wrong about this because I'm not, super well versed in programming, but from the way I understand it, there isn't like any layers to the code of Temple OS. So if you control the system, you can like just directly tap into the code immediately and alter anything about it if you wanted to. Unfortunately, though, because of Terry's mental problems, his mental state was rapidly declined, and this could be seen whenever he live stream on YouTube, as he gradually went from being like a relatively like lucid to continually shouting the N word at every opportunity, and talking about how like the government was spying on him, getting into fights with his parents, and eventually one day he physically assaulted his father and was kicked out of his house, and he remained homeless for a few years and was unable to work on Temple OS during that time. And eventually he sadly passed when being run over by a train in what was believed to be, I think you can imagine what. Jack Stauber. Jack Stauber is a music artist who initially used his YouTube channel primarily as a way of posting advertisements for his music, but also as a way of posting like short art projects he had created. He released the albums Finite Form in 2013 and Vindicator in 2015. But around 2017, when he released his third album, Pop Food, which is the one that has a song called Buttercup in it, which I guarantee if you've ever used TikTok, you have almost definitely heard, he started focusing more on using his channel for art, and that became his primary place of creation, as the only album he's made since then was Hilo in 2019. The videos on his channel are very just aesthetically pleasing to look at just because of the sheer number of art styles he combines. He primarily combines 2D animation with claymation, but he also sometimes incorporates 3D animation into it. The videos can range from just really pretty like normal and kind of like a kid's cartoon in their animation, all the way to just extremely disturbing claymation nightmares. And in the tones of the videos can also vary from short, lighthearted, wholesome videos and jokes to all the way to just existential dread. New Normal is probably like his darkest and most terrifying video in terms of animation. That video seriously shook me to my core when I first saw it, and I don't think anything has ever been able to scare me as much as when I first watched that video. He's also, a lot of his videos will have short songs accompanying them, and he's made micro pops, which are basically extended versions of those songs. And in addition to all that, he's also worked with Adult Swim, and he's created one short film for them, which is like 2 minutes long, called Wishing Ring, and two like full 10-minute long like actual short films, not just skits, called Shop, a Pop Opera, and Opal. With Shop being like this guy that's like going through a store trying to buy various different products, and along the way he meets like a different person with each product that represents like simple anxieties. And then Opal is just complete nightmare fuel and just a really dark story about child abuse, pretty much. Possibly due to how hard it was to create Opal, since it's a whole 10 minutes as opposed to his normal couple second to minute long animations. Jack has not uploaded a video in a year, with the last one being Baby Son Adoring Us. And I really hope he comes back sometime soon. Also, realistically, the Senshi probably should have been on the third tier. I mean, almost all of his videos have like at least or almost 1 million views, so it's weird that this was on, like, Wen was on the third tier, but this wasn't. In terms of what music genre he is, I believe he makes synth pop music, but for some reason, when I look it up, it says Hypnagogic Drift, which everything else about Hypnagogic Drift defines it as a vaporwave subgenre, so he is not vaporwave. I don't know why it says that, but yeah, that's weird. She's Still Sleeping. There's a YouTube channel called Timothy Birmingham. He's a middle-aged man who vlogs his life. His videos are nothing out of the ordinary for the most part. But there's one video called She's Still Sleeping, which is incredibly sad. In the video, for the first half, he talks about how his wife has not yet woken up yet, and she's sleeping in very late. And then in the next video, he revealed that this was because she was not actually sleeping, as he had thought in the previous video, but she had sadly passed away in her sleep due to unknown causes. The video has since been removed from his channel after being kept up for a few years due to people thinking it was wrong of him to keep it up, which, like, those guys are assholes. Let him grieve in whatever way he wants. But he's continued to upload YouTube videos to this day. Extremist pipelines. This isn't really a problem with YouTube so much as it is a problem with websites in general, but if you watch enough like edgy or dark content, YouTube will gradually feed you more and more of that content. And because YouTube likes promoting things with more outragey titles and stuff and doesn't really care about people so much as it cares about making a profit, you can gradually fall down like pipelines where you go from dark edgy jokes to reactionary ideologies. This was most prevalent during the whole PewDiePie versus T-Series thing, where a bunch of the more extreme members of PewDiePie's fanbase started latching on to the edgy jokes he had made that had resulted in him coming into controversy, and went from defending him from those jokes and saying that he was in the right to straight and that he had never made those jokes to straight up saying that he was right in having said those things. And this eventually culminated in the Christchurch, which are talked about in the second tier of the iceberg. Again, like with conspiracy theories, YouTube has taken measures to counteract this content, but still not to a sufficient amount, but at least it's doing something. Mr. Anime / LensCat Productions. Mr. Anime was a YouTuber who had a series called LensCat Productions where he would review anime. He was a normal YouTuber at first, but as his videos continued on, you could see his mental state declining, not through any obvious means, but through more subtle things, like he had took up more of an interest in GUNs and in serial unalivers. And eventually, he shot his entire family, which sadly resulted in all of them passing, and the police came to his house to find carvings written on the door, which said, "I will never forgive myself. I don't know why I did this. God help me." He was interrogated, and in the interrogation, he weirdly seemed just actually remorseful of the actions he had committed and believed that he deserved to be in prison, which he got a life sentence afterward. It's really just a sad story all around. Though, on a lighter note, I like how the Scare Theater video, which talks about this, which is where I found out about this from, is, obviously about this serious subject matter, and then the thumbnail is an anime girl in a bikini. That's good thumbnail choice there. Okay, so that was 3 very dark entries in a row. So let's lighten the mood. Medieval found footage. So the creator of the iceberg put a little message saying, "I'm sorry," right next to this one. And I'd like to apologize for this as well. So this was some like a YouTube horror video that was uncovered by 4chan, and the video, it's like a found footage from some camera, but it's footage of people from the medieval times, and cameras weren't invented then. This doesn't make sense. This is proof of spooky time travel. And then, just when you think it couldn't get any spookier, a bunch of people wearing uniforms of the German military from the years 1939 to 1945. Oh my gosh, so spooky. And obviously, this one could very well be real. I have no idea. There's no possible way I could debunk this one. There's no possible way anyone could debunk this one. No one's done that before. It's probably real, honestly. Robert Helpman. Robert Helpman is a YouTube channel that uploaded 12 videos in July 12th, 2015, and then never touched the website again. All of these videos are less than a minute long and consist of black and white footage centering around this body wrapped inside of a trash bag, which is implied to be a unalived body. Now, this is not real. At least it's very likely not real, but it does actually look pretty realistic. I don't know, maybe my expectations of what an unalived body would look like are just a little. My expectations for the prop department are a little lowered after 00390's attempt at that. But I could definitely understand people thinking that this is real upon the first glance of it, especially YouTube, who deleted 2 of the videos on the channel. At least I think so. I mean, he might have taken them down himself, but I don't see why he would have done that. Anyway, back to the content. So this body is referred to in the description of all of these videos as Daisy, and the videos center around her just sitting, sometimes not really doing anything because she can't move, but occasionally there will also be this other guy that carries her around, washes her, or violently stabs her with a knife multiple times, with the descriptions of the videos treating her like she's some kind of child that he's taking care of. So you may be wondering, what is the meaning of this channel? It's Christmas. The channel is named after Robert Helpman, who is an actor that played the villain of the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is a movie of it's a movie about children pretty much, and like childlike wonder and that kind of stuff, which is something Christmas is also about. Again, he had 12 videos on his channel, which fits into the 12 days of Christmas, and Daisy enters on the first day and leaves on the final day. And Daisy is constantly treated like a child, again, which would relate it to Christmas. And the most damning piece of evidence is the background audio. There's this really creepy audio that plays throughout the series, which is reversed audio from a record called Santa Hiding in Your Phonograph, which, yeah, I can't really get much more Christmassy than that. I mean, unless the videos were literally uploaded on Christmas, but I mean, that'd just be way too on the nose. And effectively, with these videos, he's trying to send the message that Christmas is basically died, and it's completely lost its meaning because it's been abused by capitalism and companies, and just you know people trying to like abuse its meaning and abuse the holiday. And as an effect of that, us as a society have unalived Christmas. Flying Girl in Russian Wood. I mean, the title's pretty self-explanatory towards the contents of the video. Oh, it's hailing. Cool. Just what I needed. But the girl is, I mean, she's not really flying. She's more so floating there for just in the sky for a few seconds before she falls back down. But 80% accurate title. And yeah, it was staged. They just hoisted the girl up on a rope and then just edited the rope out afterward, and specifically chose a branch covered, like an area where there's branches in the background to make it harder to prove that the rope was edited out. Memory Hole / Everything is Terrible. These are 2 YouTube channels which are run by the same group of people. These people have a hobby for collecting VHS tapes, and then they take the VHS tapes and upload their contents to YouTube under one of these 2 channels. The differences between the 2 channels are that Everything is Terrible that has the VHS tapes edited for either comedic or horror purposes, and are tapes that they found through means such as garage sales, whereas Memory Hole is specifically tapes that were submitted to America's Funniest Home Video and didn't make the cut. And that might not sound that weird, but some people have a really abnormal sense of what is humorous and what is not. So a lot of the videos on Memory Hole end up just being disturbing without even having any editing required. Burden. Burden is a YouTube channel which, according to its description, is for those who are no longer human, for those who can't relate. Videos range from unruly despair to unrecognized rage, deprived visions. And the profile picture of this channel is of a German philosopher who was an extreme pessimist and believed that life was utterly worthless. And that about describes the themes of this channel. All the videos of this channel, they're quite different from one another, but the main way I describe them is they're various different clips of footage all being mashed together, sometimes overlapping on top one another and with various different effects applied. And these clips all relate to a central theme of the video, which will be addressed by either audio that's been added in or in the description. And all these videos' themes relate to some sort of problem with society. The videos cover a wide range of topics, but the main things that the channel's videos focus on are criticism of material wealth and capitalism and like billionaires and how all that has degraded society and all the problems that it causes, as well as just general pessimistic ideas about humanity being worthless and the despair of living in the world as it is today. Some of the more notable videos on his channel also have deceptive thumbnails, where the thumbnail will be something like deceptive thumbnails and titles. So for example, there will be something like "How to make money for college students," and the thumbnail will be a perfectly normal picture of some people standing in front of a car, or "I bought a Lamborghini," and a perfectly normal picture of a car, or "Anime Girl ASMR" with an anime girl on it, or "How to pick up girls" with the girl on the thumbnail, and they don't look anywhere near as edited as his other thumbnails, but then you click on the actual videos and they're no different than usual, with the videos sort of addressing the problem that the thumbnails were about. Concluse. Concluse is a horror game which is intended to emulate the PS1 graphical style as well as the visual style of a VHS tape recording in both its graphics and aesthetic, and is heavily inspired by Silent Hill. You may wonder, why the hell is this on the YouTube iceberg? And the reason for that is before Concluse was made into an actual game, the creator advertised it by basically releasing simplified snippets of the gameplay on YouTube as a sort of ARG to build up interest for the game, as he didn't actually advertise it in a traditional way. And the game was free, so it's likely he didn't really have the kind of money to spend on ads, and this was all just kind of like a passion project of his. Cursed Kleenex commercial. This video was originally, as the name implies, a commercial that aired in Japan in the 1980s. The commercial consists of a woman dressed in white and a red-skinned Oni baby wearing a leopard skin diaper, both sitting in a bed of straw with a red background with a box of tissues next to them, while the song Fine Day by Miss Jane plays. And then the woman picks up a tissue and throws it through the sky and it floats around. Now, you may be wondering, what the hell did anything in that commercial have anything to do with Kleenexes or with each other? And to be honest, I don't really know how to answer that. There is a little bit of reasoning I could find behind why this commercial is the way it is, which is that apparently there's a character called Ten from the anime Urusei Atsuira. I definitely butchered that. Who is like this Oni baby, and that's what the character in this advertisement is based off of. Except the Ten does not have like red demon skin; it just has normal like tan human skin. So I don't know why they made that decision. But yeah, I have no idea why they're in hay, or why Fine Day is in the background, or why any of this would make me want to buy Kleenexes. And people in Japan didn't really either. The unsettling nature of just the demon child, combined with the fact that in Japan there are myths of like women giving birth to demons in place of children, and add on to that the song, which is a pretty creepy sounding song, to be perfectly honest. And the advertisement was, most people did not exactly like it. And so it eventually got replaced by this, basically a commercial which was the reverse of it, containing a angel baby picking up and throwing away tissues while a choir sings in the background. And not enough people talk about this commercial because, to be perfectly honest, I believe that it's just as creepy. The creepy, distorted sounding choir combined with just the sheer lighting of the situation, it's just unsettling. So the original Demon Baby advertisement was taken off the air in place of the Angel Baby advertisement, and no one really cared that much about the Demon Baby until YouTube happened, and then the commercial was quickly re-uploaded to YouTube. And now it became even creepier with the fact that it was uploaded from a VHS recording, meaning it had that typical VHS, just unsettling effect on it. That's creepy for the same reason you'd find analog horror creepy. and it was re-uploaded around the time that movies about like cursed videos and cursed VHS tapes were becoming popular, namely The Ring. And so people started formatting rumors about this commercial, rumors that it was cursed and that everyone who worked on it had later uh, had become unalive shortly afterward, and that the song in the background was actually sung in German. Keep in mind that the people that primarily watched this commercial spoke Japanese, and that it was a cursed German song that was singing "Everybody is cursed, everybody will be unalived." And the most infamous of these rumors is that if you watch the commercial at midnight, it will in some way change, and then you'll be cursed to either go insane or unalive yourself, depending on which version of the story you hear. And there have, of course, been many YouTube videos trying to recreate this supposed midnight distortion effect, which which for the time, I imagine they were probably much more convincing, but by nowadays standards, they're embarrassingly poorly edited for a video that's trying to convince you it's real anyway. At least. Alright, we are about halfway through the 4th tier, so I'm going to end the video here, and, then I will work on the second part of the 4th tier. I don't really know what else to say in this outro. Bye!